Hi, Sharon. Thank you so much for taking the time to have an interview with me today. I would like to introduce you to the viewers. Today, we welcome Sharon Laflamme from Florida, USA. She has a company called Creating Serenity Now, and she is specialized on the regulation of the nervous system.
Yes, hello everybody, and thank you, Tanya, for inviting me. And yes, I am so happy to be here.
Great. Now, I would like to ask you some questions as you are not only spiritual, but also a professional in the field. For example, when a person had a spiritual awakening, I find it very hard to be around people who did not have that. So, for example, when you have that feeling, you just had this spiritual awakening and you have the feeling you have to walk on eggshells around other people who are like the folks who still live in the illusion, the folks who are regular. Yeah. So then you have that feeling, okay, probably they think I am scared, because it can look a little bit scary to the normies, let's say, when somebody had a spiritual awakening. In my personal experience, it's like this. When I talk about, not being identified with the human persona, with the avatar, when I talk about that I am happy with everything that God gives me, and I am not afraid at all of death because I know I'm a being that lives forever and such, then it can seem extremely creepy to others, and it can make them scared because they didn't have that awakening experience. So how can we as people who are awakened still function in a society where 90% of people did not have that experience? So what is your best advice? What would you do, or how would you behave, or what are the things that you think about that?
Okay, powerful question. Well, spiritual awakening can mean many things to different people. So I'm just going to ask you to clarify when you say spiritual awakening, because I think for me, and it might be for you, that we have recognized that we are so much more than this personal 3D corporeal mass that we live in. And we are kind of by design made to think that way and live in a fear state in this 3D dimension to keep us simplified and disempowered. Is that something that, am I thinking along the right lines?
Yes, because I think that here is an avatar. It's basically like a car. When I get into a car and I drive somewhere, I do not automatically become the car. I use the car to drive around for a while, and then I give it back. I leave it behind. And I see this the same as this avatar here, that mind and body, flesh and bone working, that is here, that is present. And when you had this awakening, you somehow, to a certain extent, you become disidentified with it because you become more of an observer of that avatar rather than fully identifying with the avatar and everything that is going on inside the avatar.
So I would agree. And my advice and my perspective, I would say that your spiritual awakening is yours to embody, to live in this new embodied place, which feels different than the 3D body. Also, this puts us in so much connection mentally, emotionally, and physically and spiritually. We're living in a different dimension, right? We have a new sense of ourselves. So I invite people to embrace that new you. It is feel, and you are not going to fit in the 3D dimension. You can't possibly, unless you choose to go backwards. And none of us evolve can go backwards. So there is probably this bit of separation, not feeling like I fit in, and maybe a feeling of abandonment or just not right? Because we are in our new spiritual legs too. It's a new form of being, and we aren't going to feel like we fit here. This is a new space too. And every transition gives us an opportunity to re-identify ourselves and feel at home in our body. So that's the work I would suggest you do. Don't stay with any people, places that are not safe. That means your body tenses, doesn't feel comfortable. You feel in dissonance, like things aren't in harmony for you internally, because that's your body telling you, I'm safe if I feel harmony and my body can let go. I can be around people that are safe. My body will let go because I know I'm being supported. And I would advise you to stay in those situations till you start getting your spiritual strength. You're feeling more embodied, more powerful, because all your chakras are going to be coming online. There's going to be new energy showing up for you. And you want to put your presence there and keep your presence around safe people and places.
That is a wonderful answer, but it leads me to the next question as well. Because some people, they do not have the capacity to leave that place. Like, for example, you're in a work environment that is typically corporate work environment. You will not have many awakened individuals there. You're just going to have normies who want to do their work, want to do their job, maybe are competitive. And if you have such an experience, it is super hard, I think, when you have to stay among these people, but because to a certain extent, these people are a danger to you. I mean, I had people call the cops on me because they were thinking I would be sui blibbity dibbity diddle, just for saying that I do not identify with this body and I'm basically happy with anything that God gives me as an experience, even if that's sickness or death. I am happy with everything that God sends me. So basically, they do not just not understand you, but they also consider you either a danger to yourself or to others, and then they call the cops on you. So to a certain extent, normies, when you cannot leave them, when you cannot get out of this environment because you need that job. So how do you say, how can these people then tread this very fine line, this very edge?
Oh, okay. Good question. And I'm hoping I can help with that. For me, in my work as a somatic experiencing practitioner, a yoga instructor, meditation, Reiki, all these things that I practice is actually building the physiological ventral vagal nervous system that we all have. And it's all kinds of electrical nervous pathways that we build. And what we build increases when we work on making our ventral vagal more resilient with more capacity. We can then withstand outside influences that want, to maybe hurt us or make us feel bad about who we are. Isn't that what the world likes to do? And when we can build that ventral vagal nervous system's capacity and resilience, we then have the energy to mount up and be our truest self. And they're going to recognize, exactly like you said, you're different. So now that you're different, you're not a safe person. That puts them on a guard. But if we can really embrace our capacities and our true self, we stay in our loving state. And they may think she's weird or she's unsafe, but they will eventually notice that you're not. They'll feel your energy, because this is one of my favorite things, Tanja. People in their 3D state will lie and manipulate to try to get their needs met or try to control people or to feel empowered, right? So people will lie and manipulate, but energy never does. So if you are in your most authentic, truest, energetic form of love and light, they will feel that. They will know that on some level, because this is also part of the primitive limbic system that we don't have control over. You don't run your heart. You don't tell your body when it's time to go pee or poop. You don't tell your digestive system how to do it. You don't tell your body how to heal a cut. Your body knows inherently, innately, its intellectual genius in every cell, in every biological portion. Your body knows, and it will vibrate that energy, and you won't be a threat to those people.
I do understand what you're saying. You're basically saying that the nervous system, especially vagus nerve, everything about the parasympathetical system is being like a muscle, so we can train it and then can get stronger. That I fully agree to. The problem I see here is the following. Let's say this police has been called on you, and now you're in the position where you have to basically defend yourself because they come here thinking that you are a danger to yourself or others. And the cops are not trained to differentiate between three things. Is that a psychological problem, like somebody in a psychosis? Or is that just a normal, regular spiritual awakening where there is no danger for anyone? Or is that a full-blown demonic possession where you literally have to call the priest? So these people, these cops are not trained for that. They don't even have the slightest idea of it. Most of them are not even trained on how to act around a person with autism and ADHD, which is a huge problem and already led to the fact that some people with autism have been unalived by the police because they acted in a certain way, just because their nervous system responds naturally like this, and the cops misinterpret that, and the poor kid had to go. And this is the reason why I say, yes, to a certain extent, we can work on our own nervous system to train the muscle. That's fine. But what do we do with the rest of the danger that actually we have no influence on?
Mm-hmm. And that's partly what we want to create in our world, is that safety. No matter where we are, we want to be safe with who we are. And you're right, the world does not see. The 3D people aren't trained, whether it be judicial or police, which is why your best safety, I believe, is finding it in yourself. If the police do come and your nervous system realizes, and it will do it all on its own, I'm in danger, you're going to look different. You're going to act different. You're going to be defensive. You're going to possibly be angry. You're going to be all the things they're looking for. And we can't help this, right? This is an automatic response. When the body feels danger, it goes into fight or flight. So the more we can create that safety for ourselves and get into that safety, then you'll be a safer person in their presence, and there'll be less, I believe, I imagine, you'll be less likely to have an issue.
I absolutely agree. The more calm you can stay in that situation and the more calm you look to the outside, the more they are going to be ready to believe that what you say is actually true. Yes. Did you see the difference between the two pictures that have been posted? I think you know that there was a picture posted about the US president being dressed as a Jesus Christ, right? And there have been many different versions of it online, but the very first one that came from Nick Adams, it had above the figure of the president, it had 3 soldiers in uniform. Now, after that, the whole thing escalated because after that, the president posted one of those pictures himself, but it was very, very changed. At the very top, there was not anymore 3 soldiers. In the middle, there was a figure that resembles the symbolism of Lucifer, that had these horns coming out of his head, he had these wings, and he didn't have a face anymore. So it was basically changing from a person to a being, to some kind of entity. And this was the version that was posted by the president. And not many people have seen this at all, because in most newspapers, even in our newspaper here in Austria, they cut off the entire top. But that is a very important part concerning the symbolism. And it's super, super important because symbols have an effect on us, on the subconscious, and on you know, the public consciousness. So even if we don't perceive it with our conscious mind, it is taken in some way. So I wanted to ask you, did you see these 2 different versions? Were you aware of it? And now that you know about it, how would you interpret it?
Thank you. I don't believe anything that any media says or does. I always believe that they're trying to make me think something, condition my brain to think their way, or become a person that they want me to do. When I first saw that picture, and I don't know which version I saw, I had a number of thoughts. I thought, oh man, who's putting this out to create, like, because let's face it, we want distension. We want them fighting amongst each other. I personally don't believe in politics. I believe that it's all about keeping the humans fighting in a dispute so that they are so, right. And so they're so emotionally involved, they don't know what's really going on in the world. So I kind of laugh when I see this stuff, and I wonder how many people are getting drawn into this and getting upset, because your upset is drawing you back into the 3D world. You're not in your peace and your sovereignty and your connection to all that is in your spiritual realm. So I feel badly about the types of people that are creating this stuff and what they want to do to our nature and our nervous system, because living in a fear paradigm, which we do, controls us, and it controls you. So I wish, and that's my hope, this toxic society, which we talked about once, that we can eliminate this toxic society. But what I see is toxic pictures going out, none of which I believe has any truth to it, probably AI created to impart all kinds of negativity, uproaring feelings and symbolisms. Yep. And our words and our energy and everything that affects that. As far as, I don't know, you're probably too young, but there's subliminal messages coming out that we're unaware of. Our brain is picking up stuff from the screens that we're unaware of. They stopped subliminal messages, but I have never believed that. I'm certain they're still trying to control us subliminally and everything, which is again why your greatest protection is your safety, getting connected to your source and your universe, and the safety that lies within and without with you. So that, like I never got a reaction when I saw those pictures, except, oh gosh, you know, what's going on now? And what are they trying to want me to believe? Who are they wanting me to hate? You know, that kind of stuff.
I think when spiritually awakened people look at such a picture, there is a very different messaging coming over than if you were the regulars. Yes, for the regulars, it might stir anger or frustration or whatever it is. For me, it is a very, very clear information that says, look, there is a hierarchy. On top of the picture, we've got a being that looks like Lucifer. In the middle of the picture, we've got a president. And down here, we've got all the other folks. So this was a clear message, I think, to the awakened people. Look, this president is a channel, and what is he a channel of? Just look a little bit higher, then you know exactly what he's a channel of. He is not like the actor. He is the hand puppet that has a certain energy behind him or above him, because on the top of the picture there is this other entity. And of course, that gives you a very different message about hierarchy and who is in charge of who, and that this person is actually not on top, because otherwise he would have put the president on top of the picture if he would have wanted to give that expression. Yeah. And also, we do not know, of course, who did that. We just know it was posted by the president, but not was it him, or was it maybe an intern that works for him, that is working somewhere in his public relations team? We do not know. We don't know who changed it. We don't know who posted it exactly. We just know it came through his online channels. Yeah. So just to make it clear that we do not know who put the change in, but as an explanation, they said, no, this was just an AI mistake, but this clearly is not an AI mistake. Okay, so this is clearly a change that was deliberate to my eye, because I'm working with AI, I'm doing certain things with AI, and I can see it makes mistakes with the hands. You know, it gives you maybe 6 fingers instead of 5 and stuff like that. But a change like this to take a soldier and change it to some figure with wings, with no face and with horns. That is something that doesn't usually happen with AI. So this is just to round this up. But the second topic you were going into is the subliminal messaging. And we know that there was this one scientist. There was Edward Bernays, and he did all of the social engineering, the first testings. And we know that his grandkids, the kids and grandkids of him, are now owning Netflix. So if the people who have created how to engineer a society, how to engineer their feelings and emotions and everything, and now you have somebody like that on top of Netflix, of course, you know that they didn't just stop what they're doing. They just refined it over the years. They changed a little here and there, but still it's obviously visible, because in some of the movies that you see, you can see the predictive programming. You can see in most of the movies, the aliens are depicted as something evil that wants to hurt us humans, that are coming here to be evil and stuff. So of course they try to push us into a fear direction. Yeah, because otherwise there would be a lot of movies where the aliens are funny and nice and sweet.
You talking about the graphics and AI and everything. And I thoroughly believe that what we believe has more power than anything else. What if that picture, and it's changing, was about, or I could interpret, and I believe it was about, I can see through the crap. I can see that this isn't real, or this isn't true, or maybe I should start realizing, maybe the public should start realizing that just because it's there doesn't make it true, or doesn't make it whatever, that it puts that sense of, well, I got to question everything, because I do question everything. And even the belief of a demon, that was a religious thought put into our heads. Is it true? I don't believe anything until my body connects to what I ask for, truth and reality, and for that to be exposed every day. And my truth comes from here, not from something that I see.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I always say I found God in me. I found everything I need in me, and I found truth in me. And which is why I check every experience or person that I see on the outside. I double check with here. Does it feel good here? What could it tell me? And I process. Of course, I need time to process. You know, when I get such a new information, like such a picture, and somebody tells me, look, there is a difference between the two, then of course I need some days to think about that, sit with it, process it. But in the end, it was just my conclusion that he had a certain message for us that was given to us deliberately, because otherwise I think he wouldn't have posted. And I think it was like, look, here's the hierarchy. So he basically presented himself as the channel of something to one person. They might think, okay, he's the channel of Jesus or whatever. And another person might say, with that little figure up there, I think he might be channel of something else. But definitely it was just a message to say, okay, I am not the one acting here. I am not the one who does the decisions, but there is something above me that does. And I think that was the greatest thing about this picture.
I like that interpretation. And just like with all art or anything, isn't it our interpretation that makes it important? Which is why when the 3D fear paradigm throws out all this stuff to make you afraid, question that. Do I really need to be afraid of this?
Yes, and I have to say, fear for somebody who is in an awakened state, fear is not such a thing anymore because you basically observe more. You observe, you see, and you think, and you start thinking like, oh, that is interesting. What kind of message could be in there? And then you see layers of it. You see a front layer of message, then a layer behind it, then a layer behind it, and then you see another one. So it's like, you see behind several different veils, and each one will give you a new kind of insight of possibilities. But definitely, I agree with you that what we feel and what we think is important, because otherwise they wouldn't have spent so much time on researching how does the social engineering work, what psychological mechanisms are behind it. And we have also seen in the EP Stein files that they have been making huge testings with autistics onto how do they react to torture and how do they react to abuse, because they summarized in the end, yes, an autistic kid, if it experiences torture, it will later have higher psychic abilities. It will be able to do remote viewing. It will be able to be a psychic, basically, because there are different kinds of things that you can do with it. But they put in so much money and effort into this. Because, for a reason, because not only it's true, but also they want to use it. They want to use it for wars. They want to use it to, see the future. They just want to use it for their own purpose. So these things where most people would tell you, that's woo-woo, that's nothing, that doesn't exist. I personally think they wouldn't have put so much energy into it, and it wouldn't stand in the EP files if it wasn't true.
I couldn't agree more with your insight and what you find is your truth and what I see. I think that we've been experimented on for eons, and they know how to control us through the blue light, through the messaging, through the circadian rhythm, through our health and toxic foods and things that we're doing. We're slowly being killed, and it's by design, which is the sad part, right? The whole social programming and marketing is by design, trying to control people.
Yes. But everything as I see it from God's perspective, I can say it all gave me all of these experiences, gave me the insight that I have now. If I wouldn't have been through the targeting process, and I've been experiencing targeting for more than 20 years, and I mean that both in the spiritual sense and also in the earthly sense. And if I wouldn't have gone through all of this, which was really hard, and really it is a form of torture. It's a silent killing. They kill your reputation so that you don't have a job anymore. Then when your reputation is gone and you don't have job and money anymore, you lose the house, and it starts to put you really in a downward spiral at first. But the blessing inside of it is when you literally have and own nothing anymore. And I'm very sorry that I sound like Klaus Schwab now, who says you'll eat the bugs and you will be happy. If you own nothing anymore, it is true, you are freed. Suddenly you are free, because there is nothing to lose anymore. There is nothing anymore that somebody can threaten me with. And this is also a kind of freedom, because nobody can bribe me into something. Nobody can threaten me. Nobody can threaten to take anything away from me. They can say, we will take your house, and I laugh because I have none. They can say, we will steal your car, and I laugh because I have none. So they basically can do whatever they want. So I saw that their final aim was something else. They wanted to have me in this situation where I'm now, where I have no house, no car, no money, no job, no nothing, because the end goal was something else. The end goal was to say, okay, she is not spiritually awakened. She is actually psychotic or something, just invent any of the DSM things. And we want to lock her up. And when you get locked up in a psych ward, there is no end. It's open end. So they don't write, okay, she's getting out at this and that day. It's forever, basically. Yeah. There are several aims that they have. And one of those is to get you into a psych ward, because then you can be their testing bunny, okay, their laboratory bunny. Another way that they want to profit from you could be that they stage the same thing that they had with Virginia Giuffre. And then they say, okay, long ago, we have already made a life insurance on that person's name. So when that person is gone, we can get the money out of the life insurance. So that is another way how they profit. Yeah. So they found a way to do the targeting, and no matter how it ends, they will always find a way to profit. Yeah. In each of these cases.
Being targeted as a female is not a big surprise for me. It's another witch hunt, which has been happening. We've been demonized. Back to the story of Eve, right? She was the demon. We are so powerful as women. We are so powerful. And I also want to say congratulations, because everything they did to try to disempower you only empowered you And so it failed.
Yes, and I say thanks to God because He is the
Yeah.
one who protected me through all of this. The question I have is, do you think, because many people attack us, or me, let's say me, for doing magical rituals, because I do magical rituals in the most positive sense there is. I do magical rituals like, for example, I do a salt bath to cleanse my aura. I do a salt ring around my house so that my house stays protected. I do a ban on everything that wants to hurt me. I do a ban spell on everything that isn't coming from true love and light, you know? So I do protection spells up and down, protection spells, and people attack me for it and say, oh, that's witchcraft, that's evil, you're with the devil, okay? How do you respond to that thing? Because actually, I think I'm doing something very good if I protect myself and my family and everyone who's in my house.
Yeah. And again, it's working because you believe it will work. So it does work because we are creators. And quantum physics will tell you that. The space in an atom, that 99% of empty space is consciousness, listening to you, talking to you, and giving you what you want. And so because you believe it, it makes it so. And so I've had that actually because I'm a yoga instructor, and there's religions that tell. I had people when I moved into this community that, of course, didn't trust me, didn't know anything. I don't say anything. I let my energy, I let my behavior, I let my energy, I let my words, I let who I am speak to them. And actually, some of the people told me they spoke with them. I didn't know about it, but it's like I don't have to do anything but be my most authentic, aligned, embodied, light self. And it doesn't matter what other people think, as long as they're not trying to harm me. That is a completely different story.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for that opinion. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to end the session before it cuts off.
Okay, sounds good. I think that's a good idea. And it was an honor, Tanya. Thank you for the invite. And hello to all of you that are listening. Please know that you are worthy of being loved and loving yourself.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.